If you'd like to hear the full episode or any of the scenario archives, be sure to subscribe and click the link in our bio. Also, like and follow the Scenario Radio Show on all of our social media platforms for more Real Talk with the Playlist. Peace.
So, all right, with us, we have today Eva Melton, the author of Breadcrumbs To Purpose, Discovering Who You Are and Why You Are Here. You have this come up, and it's like it's a sermon at first, and you're working with it as a sermon. Then you realize, no, this is something that needs to go further. It needs to be a book. From the transition to sermon to book, was there anything that was a revelation for you that you were like, oh my God, I didn't even realize this when I started on this journey?
Yes. The first name, the title of the book, it was a sermon title, not the whole sermon series title. So that changed. And then also 2020. In my sermon series, I talked a lot about 2020, and a lot of those things that I said ended up being kind of what focused me back into 2020 for myself. Basically, this book is what anchored me in 2020. I believe this year is about purpose, and people, I know we're despondent. We have a lot of loss taking place, but I believe that purpose is what has allowed us to stay focused, that will allow us to stay focused and allow us to make it and feel like we have a reason for really being here in 2020. And so literally every chapter in this book really got tested this year for me. I had to really take the words that I had written, the words that I had said to my congregants, and apply them. Many times, this is what kept me anchored. I was living by myself in the beginning of the pandemic in a small, tiny apartment. And this book literally became my focus. It literally became my focus. And I had to go many times, read my own writing to say, you know what, if I can just focus, if I can just be grateful, if I can just really listen for God, because there's a reason, like I kept saying, like, it's not random that we are here in 2020. There's a purpose to this, and there's a purpose for us as beings being here. And so really leaning into God even more. And, being a pastor, a lot of phone calls, still working my every full-time job, but a lot of phone calls. And it's my purpose literally that got me through. And my congregants, watching them, just telling them to lean into what is to be true for you to be doing right now. Lean in as much as you know about yourself, but also take that time where we had that slowdown period for about 3 months, and listen and see what God is saying to you, and just watching them get those revelations. That's literally what carried me through this year. But that ability to focus, even when this racial injustice, was taking place. I mean, it was just like I call it seeing waves on the shore, just rising and falling. Just having that moment to focus in on something and to focus in on your purpose, even in all of this, is what got me through. And those were the things that stood out to me that made this book so much closer to my heart, because I knew I had to challenge my own sayings, my own writings, and my own teachings.
So you really were looking inside yourself and really trying to determine and filter that through into your book while you were writing it, huh?
Yes, I had to.
So what I want to know is a little bit more about the book specifically. What's your favorite chapter, or what's your favorite part of the book, and why?
Well, I think the chapter that has become my favorite chapter is it's called As We Lay. It's about partners and our purpose and sexuality. And it's become my favorite chapter because it's everybody else's favorite chapter. Like, everybody who's gotten the book was like, I started at chapter 5, that really stood out to me. And so that's my favorite chapter. You can let me know if you want me to talk about it, but that was literally my favorite chapter.
Oh, no, please, by all means.
Okay, a little bit about it.
Piqued my interest.
Yes.
So a lot of times when we talk about purpose, especially in the Christian tradition, we leave out a big part, I think, of folks' lives. And, you kind of got this black and white, sex is good, sex is bad. You're going to hell if you're not married. But if you're married, have all the sex you want, and don't talk about it unless you're married, And I feel like that leaves a lot of us void of understanding. I am a divorcee, and a woman raised in the church, and, a lot of times you can sniff patriarchy real quick. But people will miss this part of their life and not understanding that their sexual partners can impact their path to purpose. And why I say that is, the Christian tradition calls it soul ties. I don't really care what you call it, but a consistent interaction with a person does create what I call a cord to that person. In energy, you can exchange even after the sexual act. There's something still going on. That's why we can't just walk away from somebody sometimes, right? And I feel like a lot of times that can be draining. If that person is operating at a consciousness much less than you, that relationship could be draining you, or you could be taking on their energy and not really understand it. Because I've had times in my life times where I've counseled somebody where it's just like, you don't have the clarity. And you can't point to nothing else but I started a new relationship. Or I was in this relationship. And so we skip around that topic so much in the church that I feel like it is detrimental, especially to our young ladies, especially if they're more the submissive type and they've yoked up with somebody who is likely at a lower consciousness or operating in a frame of life, not even striving for the same spiritual principles. And if you're the submissive type, you can get taken off of your path and just be gone, and not realize it. But that's what that chapter is all about. I talk about, you having one partner, you can have the impacts of multiple partners, or the impact of you're in a relationship with one person and they have multiple partners. How does that impact you? And how does that impact your energy? Because at the end of the day, we have to acknowledge that there is some type of exchange taking place in the act of sex. And so it's a very sacred thing. But we have to know what we're exposing ourselves to if we're intending to stay on purpose.
All right. Yeah, I can see. So here's what I got. Before I ask, I want to ask you some stuff about gratitude, but you caught my attention on something here. You said "as we lay," because I'm big. If you ever been around my show, then we name every episode after a song, pretty much. So I need to know: are the rest of these chapters named after songs?
No, they're not.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just interested there. So as we lay, because I was like, oh, that was because I see why people go straight to it. It's captivating. As soon as you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, it reminds me of the song. And
I know that
and
song.
there you are. Yeah.
Yeah. My writing coach called it "As We Lay," the gospel according to Shirley Murdock. So
I was going to shout out Shirley Murdock, but you did it for me. That's right.
All right. So, and you had mentioned that one of the things that you've been doing in the midst of COVID and as you've been managing all the things that are going on was focusing on gratitude. What has that done for you, and what do you think of it as far as how, as a spiritual principle, how it works for people?
Yeah, gratitude is so important. And I think with so much happening external to us this year, it was so easy for people to get in a sense or feeling of being ungrateful. And I believe gratitude paves the way for abundance. I really do believe that gratitude paves the way for abundance. I don't know where I got that quote, but wherever I got it, it just stuck with me. But I believe if we can focus ourselves enough and look around at the things that we have, we may have lost some things in 2020, but look around what we still have, and even a lesson sometimes in the things that we lost. That gratitude helps us get our vibration up. So I think all carry a certain frequency, but I believe just kind of lifting our consciousness to be grateful. And I just believe that kind of opens the door for us to be in a space to continue to receive. And so many, and that can be hard right now, right? Because so many people have lost jobs, and turn on the news and there's talks about lack and talk about, shutdowns or people losing their freedom, who really don't want to wear a mask, how they look at that. Okay. But I believe that if we take the time to focus on what we have, first, the breath in our bodies, God, our families, that we can shift our energy up. Right. And then that allows us to draw more to us. That's what I really feel about gratitude.
Even before we get ready to let you go, let's make sure that everyone knows where they can find this book and whatever else you may have going on in the midst of, getting out here and getting the word out. Where's the best place to find your book?
Okay, so the book is available right now on Amazon.com. You can get it on Kindle, which is a few dollars less than the paperback. So the paperback is out there. We first released on Kindle, and now the paperback is there. One of the things I have been doing, interviews mostly with podcasters that I may have interacted with before. But in 2021, to accompany the book is Pathways to Purpose, which will be one-on-one purpose coaching with me. That's going to be released right after Thanksgiving, as far as the rates and how you can sign up and all of that. But to me, I feel like, if people can get on purpose, they'll be able to make it. Right now, it just seems so much is going on. But if a person can really tap into purpose and know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, they're going to feel a different type of energy in their life, regardless of what's happening on the TV and around them. Feeling, tapping into purpose, I feel like is a game changer. And so I'm happy to be able to release this work, but I also want to help people who feel like, okay, I just need some one-on-one attention. This book is great, but I really need to talk to you. And so I'm willing to be that accountability partner for people who may not be able to find one.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you got some really great things coming down the pike. And we wish you nothing but the best. And we appreciate you taking the time to be with us here on the Scenario Radio Show.
We're
Thank
grateful
you
to
so
have
much.
you.
Thank you so much.
This is the Scenario Radio Show. Real talk with a playlist.
That's the scenario.